Amber Army YouTube by Aaron O'Connor. Uh, you know, a man who needs no introduction to the modern Newport County fan. Aaron, I believe, is how you prefer it. Yeah.
Is it? Well, that's my name, but I'm used to so many people saying Aaron. It don't really mind. I don't mind, to be honest.
Well, if it's Aaron, I'll call you Aaron.
Or as it works.
Or as Twitter will know you as O'Kizzle.
O'Sizzle, yeah, that works as well.
So, I've got a few questions for you. So we'll go from your beginning of your time at Newport. So you joined us from Luton in 2012. What was it about Newport that appealed to you when you came to the club?
Honestly, Justin.
I had a feeling that was going to be what you'd say.
That was it, really, mate. I'll be honest. If he wasn't the manager and I hadn't worked with him before, I don't think I would have came. Like, no disrespect. I remember when I looked at all the options that I had at the time, and I looked at the clubs and I looked where they finished last year, and I looked at what players teams were bringing in and blah blah blah. And that was the reason why I went to Luton the year before, was because I knew that Luton were going to be challenging, and I always wanted to try and go to a team. And I was lucky enough that I never really been at somewhere that was just like a mid-table kind of had nothing to play for side. Like, apart from when I first got into the conference at Grays, and that was, I didn't really count that because I was still learning and stuff. So I always wanted to be, once you get a taste of the playoffs, like when I was at Rushden and stuff like that. I remember we started really well at Mansfield. The year I was at Mansfield, we started really well and we was top of the league for a bit. And I just remember the difference between being a team that's like near the top of the league and in the playoffs and then stuff like that. And I remember the playoffs, we rushed in against Oxford, like the Buzz and all that. And I just remembered, like, when I knew my time at Luton come to an end, I just remember like I wanted to try and go to a team that was challenging. And then when I looked at the 4 or 5 clubs that were available, Newport finished below all of them. So it literally was down to Justin. I had a chat with him, and because I believed in what he was saying, because I knew what he was capable of doing, because he did the same thing with Rushden, that helped as well, because he brought them from the dead and assembled a team, and I knew that he knew how to assemble or how to get a good group of players together and get them playing quickly to get results fast. Yeah. And I knew he weren't one of them managers that needed loads of money or loads of time. I knew that he could bring in the right characters and he had the right way to get it all molded quickly. So yeah, after I spoke to him, I just went with it. I knew I believed him with what he said, and he said, look, like, he goes, I promise you, like, we're gonna, like, he didn't say we'll get promoted. He never said that. I'm not gonna lie, but he'd say that, like, if I get the players I want to get, like, he goes, we'll surprise a few people this year. And he made me believe that I was the final piece of the puzzle. Like, so it's like, if you don't come, it's not going to work out. So, in like a jokey kind of way. But yeah, after I spoke to him, and I was always convinced. Then I knew. I just let all the other clubs know straight away that I was going to go to Newport.
So obviously you played with Justin. We played for Justin at Grays and Rushden. You obviously enjoyed playing for him then.
Yeah, he was just a good manager to play for. Some players, it depends what you like as a person and what you like as a player. Some players, I think, for a player that had to originally move from Nottingham, when I first moved from Nottingham, it all happened quite quickly for me. I remember I was at Gresley, and I had like a bid accepted from Grays on like a Thursday, went for a medical on a Friday, started for Grays on the Saturday. So within 48 hours, I'd gone from becoming a Gresley player to a Grays player, and I was starting the game. So it all happened quite quick. So for someone who had to travel, I always liked a relationship with a manager as someone who I could speak to, and someone who I felt close enough and comfortable to talk to about not necessarily anything, but you could have a laugh with, you could be serious with, and it just depends what kind of relationship you want. I think if you're at home and surrounded by friends and family, I don't think you might not need that as much. But when I first went to Grays, that's what I needed, and I was lucky that's what he was. So that was kind of, I was fortunate for me, because that's what I needed as a manager when just moving away, like, as a young lad, needing to play for the right manager. Like, I felt like I hit the jackpot when I realized, like, what Justin was like, because he was the perfect manager for me. And and that was what I wanted anyway. That's the kind of relationship that I wanted, and I knew that if I had that relationship with managers like that, that would get the best football out of me. And then you get some players who are the total opposite. Some players like to just come to work, do their job, and go away, and not really build any friendships or build anything more than what it has to be, which is, you know, just wanting to win football games, just a day at work for them, and that's fine. Like they're you get along with those kind of people just as much as you do with. It just depends. Like I say, it just depends what you want and what you like. Some people are the same when it comes to their players. Some people like to build friendships. I know I've built friendships for life with players that I've played with. Some players like to stick to what they know, friends from back home, family that they know, and they just keep themselves to themselves. They come to work, they work hard, they train, they want to win on Saturday. They'll run through brick walls for you, and then your friendship ends there. And that's just how some people are. But that weren't me. And the kind of players that I wanted to be around, and I wanted to be able to call people my friends, they were the kind of people that Justin was looking to bring in as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just all worked out all right. It could worked out well in terms of meeting Justin. It was literally, I won't say it was potluck, but I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like, for me personally, it was kind of like meant to be. Because I feel like if my first managerial experience was someone different, I feel like everything could have been totally different for me.
Mm-hmm. So obviously you joined Newport. You scored on your debut at Mansfield. You ended up scoring 6 goals in 5, winning the Conference Player of the Month in August. So was it purely Justin and the people around you that allowed you to click? Because obviously things didn't click quite so well for you at Mansfield and Luton. What was it that was different with this?
Well, I think Justin, he kind of like with not having so many so-called big names at Newport, he kind of he was very strategic with the way he brought players in, because he always allowed. It's very rarely that we had players who had to play in a position that weren't their strengths, if you know what I mean. So everyone were playing to their strengths. He gave people like me, Danny Crow, Jefferson Louis, who, even though he was a big man, I'd quite a lot for a big man, and he always classed himself as this like Zlatan Ibrahimovic kind of big figure. Like, that's the kind of confidence that he had in himself. And some managers just say, I remember managers always used to say to Jeff, "No, you're a big lump, just big, edit, kick it." And Jeff always telling me, "I'm sick of managers just saying, big, you're big, head it, flick it on." But Justin just kind of said, "You know what? If you think you're this good, then just show me. Just go and show me." And he just gave like him license, Crowe license, who obviously was, you know, a player that used to find space and just used to create chances for other people, and just made so many goals for people like me. And it just allowed me the freedom to just play on the shoulder, but not always be central, come from the right, come from the left, which was my strength. And I think everyone just played to their strengths, and I think that's where it worked out. I think that's where it worked out for me. You know, at Luton, always I always enjoyed playing there, but was never always 100%. Never always got like a good run in the team in a position that I liked playing or wanted to play within the team, and doing what I was good at. If I was playing up front, I was always doing something else that wasn't my strength. Not that I had a problem doing it, but you know, you only get the best out of people when you allow them to do the things that they're good at. You're not going to get the best out of somebody who's not got no pace if you tell him to go on the shoulder and just play on the shoulder all the time. And it just, do you know what I mean? Like, I even found my place. I played right back for Luton a couple of times. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I played right back a couple of times. Like, obviously, I went from playing right. I played right of the 3 up front, and then they played 4-4-2, and I played right hand side. Then I remember we got a couple of injuries and stuff, and then I remember I played right back. And that's just like, when I think about it, it's like I'm an out and out striker. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, in no circumstances should I be playing right back. Like, you're better off putting the goalkeeper at right back than me. But it was. So yeah, to answer your question, just being able to play to my strengths, and most of the time, just 95% of the time, whenever I went on the pitch, he very rarely asked me to do stuff that I wouldn't do. He used to hate it when I used to run back past the halfway line, which I was never doing, because I always had the energy for it. And you know, if I could see someone was tired or If I could see someone else couldn't do it and I had it in the tank, I would always do it and work back to help the team defend from the front and all that. And he used to sometimes have a go at me for doing too much. He said, "I don't want you working in that artist. I need you to have your energy to score goals." So he was just he was fixated on just making sure that I could that I had the energy and that he wanted me to do the things I was good at. And I think that's why he always got the best results. I mean.
So, was promotion a realistic goal at any point in the early stages of the season?
I think I started. No, I definitely weren't at the start. I remember we won did we win the first 5 games on the trot, 6 games on the trot, or something? The first 5 or 6 games. I remember you do get a bit carried away within yourselves. I remember when we played. Was it the Hereford game? Was that like the 5th game, fourth or 5th game or something?
It's been the 5th one, yeah, because the following one was Stockport and we drew 0-0 at home.
All right. So yeah, when we. I remember after that game thinking to myself, like, wow, if we carry on playing the way we played the first 5 games, like, we'll be hard to beat. But I know how it is. I know everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks that their squad's the best squad. Everyone thinks that when you played well and everyone's playing at their best, they're like, no one can beat us. I've heard it in every change room I've ever been in. When we're at our best, no one can beat us. Like, everyone says it. Everybody thinks it. So, but you do get carried away a little bit. But I remember after that, it was only 5 games in. I remember after the Hereford game thinking to myself, maybe I was just on a high as well because we won and it was a big game and I scored that goal. But I genuinely remember, I don't remember too much of little things like this, but I remember after that game in my head saying to myself, if we play the way we played for the first 5 games, knowing that we weren't really fit, we had loads of players who didn't have good pre-seasons and stuff like that. I was one of them because I was traveling I moved from one club to another. And I think I had a little injury as well. But I remember I went fit and was trying to get extra work in once the season started. And that, I remember thinking once everyone gets fit, I remember Yax was the same, and there was about 4 or 5 of us who hadn't had like full pre-seasons. And I remember saying to myself, if we get everyone fit and we play the way we've been playing, because I remember we beat Hereford, who was supposed to be like up there. We beat Mansfield on the first day, and I remember just myself like, oh, like I fancy us to cause an upset here. Like Justin was right what he said, but I'd kept it to myself. Whenever anyone asked me any interviews or whatever, I was just like, oh no, we're just taking every game as it comes. But in my head, I genuinely thought like, and as I'm watching the teams that we play against, and I'm comparing us to them, like, oh, they're not bad, or I'm asking my friends like who play for other clubs, what are they like? What are they like? And they're like, bang average, not as good as you, lot, blah blah blah. And then you kind of just ticking off the teams like, well, we're better than them, we're better than them, we're better than them. And I know you shouldn't do it, but that's what you do. And then I just remember from then onwards, just thinking to myself after the Hereford game, even though it was early, I remember just thinking that we got a chance.
So obviously we ended up having a very successful season. We were unlucky at times, obviously through injuries. I know you got injured towards the end of the season. We had a big fixture pile up in the winter, of course. I think it was about 3 or 4 times we tried playing the Gateshead game away, and kept getting called off. In reality, should we have won that league that season because of how good we were?
I think it's hard because I think if you look at the first half of the season, which is when people say is the time when everyone's high, everyone's fit, it's the best time to be good, apparently. And it's apparently harder to do it in the second half of the season when everyone's got going and gelling. So I do definitely believe that first half of the season we were the surprise team in the league and by far the most consistent. But then whether it was down to injuries and a bit of bad luck and, like you say, fixtures and all that, which didn't go for us, that definitely didn't help. I don't think you can. The run that Mansfield went on that year, the second half of the season, when he kind of got his team together, when he knew what they wanted, and we would just all the playing teams in the playoff. I remember every week just waiting to just checking my phone to see if they'd slip up, and they were just beating teams, bashing teams left, right, centre. And Green, Matt Green's my mate. I remember just speaking to him every week, and he's just like, mate, he goes, we ain't gonna lose. He goes, I remember saying to him, about 8 weeks for the season left, 2 months left. He said, I promise you we're going to win the league. He's like, he goes, we're unstoppable, like now. And when he said that, I was just like, all right, then it's gonna have to be playoffs then in my head. Like, I didn't tell anyone that, but I remember him saying to me, like, we're unstoppable at the minute. And he was scoring like 8 goals a game, which was winding me up as well. Like, he was just on flames. So I don't think you can turn your nose at that. They did it when it mattered at the business end of the season. So yeah, I think the two teams that deserve to go up went up that year.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Although Kidderminster and Wrexham will probably disagree, of course, but sod them. We're the ones who went up. They didn't.
Yeah, Kiddie. Yeah, they were both good that year. To be fair, as well. I always hated playing. I always didn't like playing against Kiddie away. I don't think I've ever won there. There's always one of the cases, Kiddie. Horrible.
Always hated it there. I mean, they knocked us out of the FA Cup the year after, of course. And I remember on a bank holiday Monday, we were beating them 2-0 and they turned it round and beat us 3-2 in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah. It's one of them places. I've got a few places like that where I just hate going. Never won. And that was one of them. York City away is another place. And Kiddies won. Don't mind playing Wrexham though.
Yeah, I always enjoyed Wrexham. It was always a tasty affair, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously we didn't beat Wrexham in the league that season, but when it mattered in the playoff final, obviously we got to the final, we won. Talk me through your goal.
Yeah. What can I remember? I only remember what I remember because I've watched it so many times or seen it. But at the time, like I remember after the goal. I remember when the game finished, looking when we was all out on the pitch, still looking up at the board. I had to look because it was showing the replay of the goals and stuff, and I had to look in the replay to remember what my goal was like because I actually couldn't remember. So
imagine
it was a bit, and even the celebrations afterwards, I didn't remember that. I couldn't remember like all the pile up and everyone jumping together. Like, kind of looks rehearsed because it was that good. It was like one of them moments where you just see everyone running down, and Flinney was running down, and I ran into Flinney, and I don't even remember that. Like, it was mad. But I remember when I didn't shoot initially. I remember screaming for the balls off Joel's, to be fair, at the beginning. I had my hands up waving, thinking this is my only chance I'm going to get to score at Wembley. Like, you better just pass me the ball. So I remember...
You already got yours. Give me the ball.
I remember, like, waving my hands and shouting. I was screaming at him as loud as I could. And then I remember, in my head, I remember thinking to myself, right, this defender, he's committing no matter what. So I made my mind up. When he passed me the ball, I was going to chop back on my left side. Like, I knew I was going to do that because I wanted him to come and proper like have a good slide up and I wanted to take him out of the game. And he kind of he didn't really go for it that well. Like, it weren't the best like chop in the world, but his shot was quite weak as well. Not the best goalkeeper in the world. I remember that. I don't remember where exactly the ball comes back off him, but comes back off him and it's bouncing. And then I remember when it was bouncing, just saying to myself, just concentrate on hitting the target. Like, just hit the target and anything can happen. And then I remember seeing it go in. And then the rest is blur after that. I remember taking my shirt off, thinking I threw my shirt down, but someone was behind me and caught it.
Scott Donnelly, that was, yeah.
Yeah, he caught it, but I thought it was on the pitch. Then it was like I felt like it was about 100 people jumping on me. The pilot, I was right at the bottom of the pilot. It took me forever to like get back up. And then when I did, like, I got booked and stuff. I remember looking for my mum in the crowd when I was walking back trying to put my shirt on because I was trying to find her. And like a couple of my friends and my family was there, but I couldn't see them. Didn't know where they were sitting. And then as soon as we got back to the centre circle, it was pretty much finished, wasn't it?
Great day.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
the best. So obviously you then got to play Football League with us. I mean, I know, unless I'm mistaken, you had a very short spell with Scunthorpe where you played a couple of times, but you can't really call it a lengthy Football League spell. So your first real notable Football League spell was with us. So how was that for you? To take us up that season unexpectedly and then play Football League with us then the season after?
Yeah, it was nice. Like, you don't really know, like, at the time, you don't really know like how important it is to some people, and you hear people say like, "Oh, like, I'll remember that day for the rest of my life," and people still talk about it, or they'll message you on Twitter saying like, "I'm a grown man, you made me cry." Like, you don't really think like you have that much of an effect on people, or things that you've done have that much of an effect on people. So it's it's nice to have been able to help the team and to individually contribute in a way where people are always going to remember you for something good. So that's nice. Because, you know, at the end of the day, even though it's a team effort, and everyone is just as responsible for the game, you know, people are always going to say, oh yeah, when you got back in the football league, like, who scored for you? Like, so, you know, it's always something nice to have your name attached to. So to score on such a big occasion is nice, and obviously it's something that can never get taken away. So it's nice in that respect. The year after was, I remember the injury that I had, which was why I pretty much didn't play after Christmas, was the injury that I was carrying all the way through the first half of the season, which I was getting injections and stuff for, and epidurals, and no one didn't really notice at the time. But up until Christmas, I was playing with a double hernia, and I was playing with a double hernia, but I didn't know it was a double hernia. I thought it was something else. I thought it was like I needed a groin tendinopathy release or something. But it turns out that I had a double hernia that I didn't get sorted till months later. That's why I had so many different injections all the way through that first season when I was supposed to be out for a couple of months. Then it was, I remember, because we played a pre-season game, the first pre-season game back against somebody, a local team. Can't remember who they were, but we were 3 or 4 nil up at half time. It was the first game back after Wembley, first pre-season game. I think we were 3 or 4 nil up, might have been 4 nil up. I scored a hat-trick in the first half. Joel scored one, I think. I'm sitting down in the changing rooms, and Justin's talking, saying, everyone just work as hard as you can. I'm going to make some change after an hour, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah. I tried to sit up after sitting down for 10 minutes, tried to sit up, and my groin and my lower stomach, the pain that I had the previous season, which is when they said to me, just rest over the summer, and when you come back, you should be fine. And I couldn't get up, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand up. So I told Justin, so he had to bring me off. And then obviously we was like, oh yeah, he's going to be out for a month or two. Then it was blah blah blah. Then I was having injections. Then I had an operation on my groins when it wasn't really that. And then after that, and I came back and it was still not any better. Then I was going to London to see these specialists at London, who was giving me a thing called PRP, where they inject your blood, they inject you, take some blood, put it in this machine where it separates the good blood platelets from the bad, and then you inject the good blood platelets back into the injured area, and it's supposed to heal it. Really? I had a course of that as well. This is after the operation didn't work. That didn't work. So now there's like 6-7 months in, season's nearly finished. And then I went, just last chance, I went to see physio from Cardiff. I went for some shockwave treatment, it's called. It's a bit like a taser gun kind of thing. Right. And they kind of shoot you in the injured area, and it's supposed to help. So I remember me and Connor Washington went to see him at the same time, because he was having a groin problem at the same time. So we went to see this guy, and he just kind of moved my leg out on this, and I was like, oh, it's really hurting my stomach. And he was like, oh, he did something else, and he was like, oh, he goes, oh, I think you might have a hernia, like just by chance. He goes, I think you might have a hernia. So he did a couple of other tests with me, and he goes, oh, I'm almost certain that he goes, I'm 90% sure that you've got a double hernia. So I went back and told my physio at Newport, it was Adam Roach, I think, at the time, Roachy. Told him, so he was like, right, I'll get you in again. Went back to see the same surgeon that did my operation the first time, and then when after the double hernia, I seen the difference. I could feel the difference straight away. But obviously, with all the injections I'd had and all the missed stuff I'd done, it took me a little bit longer to recover from that. And then in the end, I remember the whole season was injured, and I played the last game against Rochdale at home, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we won.
We won, I believe, yeah. 2-1, and they missed a penalty.
Yeah, I think we had 10. Someone got sent off for us, or them, one of the two. I think we had 10 men, and we were losing, and we won with 10 men.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I remember I scored, but I think that was to make it 1-1. And I think if my memory is right, I think Kev Feely scored, centre off. I think, remember Kev Feely? I think he scored, but I think we had 10 men. So that was I played my first game was the last game of the season. So the whole season I was injured. So from from a first like full season in the football league, weren't the best, but
yeah,
um, it just made me make sure that I got everything in place to get going straight away the season after, where everyone was, you think about your rest after a long season, and you think about your holidays and everything. When that season finished, when I got a little bit of a taster of that last game against Rochdale, I was just thinking about getting fit. So I
yeah.
wasn't thinking about holidays and rest. I was thinking about, so when everyone was chilling and getting their recovery in, which they don't, getting my work in, like getting ready to go for the season after.
So it went well the season after. I remember your hat trick against Bowie. I was there for that. Did you get many hat tricks in your career?
I've got a few, but that's my only football league hat trick. I know that. I think I might have got one. I think I might have only got two actually. I know I scored a lot of braces. I think that might be my. I think I got one conference hat trick and one football league hat trick.
Got that ball still?
Yeah. I've got it. All the boys signed it and that. All the boys
Brilliant.
signed it, kept it. But yeah, I remember that year. It was a good season, and I think was that the year when was that our last season? Was that everyone's last season there?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, obviously Justin left just into the new year, and then we nearly made the playoffs with Jimmy, and then it was the Terry Butcher cull that came afterwards. But that is actually one of my questions I'm going to come to. But what I was going to ask you beforehand, well, I mean, obviously going to mention that you had a good relationship with the fans and that you always speak highly of Newport yourself over social media and that. I was going to ask you about your time here, but obviously you got into quite a lot of detail about your time with us. So I guess I can go on to that. The Terry Butcher Cull you were part of. If he kept that team together, do you think he would have done a lot better with the club if he'd have kept at least a few of you together?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Personally, would you have liked to have played for him as well?
I didn't know anything about him. I know he's a little bit of an England legend, the old headband, but I didn't really know much about him in terms of managerial. I knew he was a good player, knew what he was like as a manager, but I didn't know anyone who had played for him either. I remember at the time when he got the job, and there was talk of him getting the job. Like the first thing you do when you hear of people getting the job is like you ring and ask a couple of your boys who played for him, or try and find out like what they're like or whatever. Um, excuse me. So I remember not being. I didn't know anything about him, and then I only spoke to him once, and it was he rang me, and I spoke to him for about 30 seconds, and it was just to say all the best in the future, and that was it. I didn't know anything about him. I literally, obviously, it was the phone call that I expected. We knew we all kind of knew before, apart from a couple. Um, a lot of us knew that we were leaving a few weeks before the season even finished. Like Daki kind of pulled us and just said, "Look, lads, like apart from a couple of people who the club potentially like might want to sell and move on, you had like Andrew Hughes, people like that who obviously were really big prospects and stuff. Who were going to be retained on contracts. There's like everyone else is pretty much like just free to go and sort themselves out. So players were talking to clubs before the season even finished, trying to sort themselves out, which is obviously the best thing for them to do while you're still playing in the shop window. And I remember we did well. Like, did we just miss out on the playoffs that year?
We just missed out, didn't we? Yeah.
I remember because a lot of the boys were saying, look, if we can get in the playoffs, knowing the situation we're in, like a lot of teams below us are gonna like. I remember one of the things that happens in football all the time is you make the playoff. You're out of contract. You play for a team, and your team make the playoffs. 9 times out of 10, you're getting offers from other clubs. Like if you're part of a successful team that finishes in the top 5, 6, if you for whatever reason don't stay at your parent club, teams beneath you, whether they're in the top half or the bottom half, they're like, well, we know he's good. He was part of a top 6 side last year, and blah blah blah. So a lot of the boys wanted to make the playoffs because it would help your chances of getting a club the next year. And always about getting a club. So you always want to try and go to a club that you want to go to. It's not nice to either players who have been forced. to go to clubs that they don't want to go to, maybe because of distance and they've got families and stuff like that. Like, so you always want to have, some good options. It's not always the case, but you always want to try and have options and try and go to a club you actually want to go to. But yeah, if we just kept that squad together, no doubt that he would have done a lot better than he did. 100%. I can't remember now thinking back to the players that he brought in instead. No disrespect to them, but I just think the group of players we had obviously knew each other well and had worked together well over the last 2-3 seasons. So if you can keep any kind of core of it or a few of them, and then bring in your own players, I think that's usually the main method to most managers. If you can keep a good selection of the players together who know how things are run and worked and they've worked together, and then bring in your own players and kind of freshen your own ideas up with your own management style, I think that usually works for most managers. So he kind of had to like start again from scratch, and I think he maybe only had 3 or 4 players to keep, or did he only have like 3 or 4 or 5 players to keep?
Joe Day, Matt Byrne, Jan Klukowski, and Andrew Hughes, I believe.
Yeah, so
them and he brought a fresh new squad.
Yeah, so it's tough for him, but yeah, he would have. As to work with him, I literally don't. Even now, I don't know anyone that's played for him. But it would have been nice to say. I suppose I played for Terry Butcher. It's just like when I tell everyone, when I tell people that Terry Sheringham was manager at Stevenage, like they're like, "Oh, what was it like to play for Terry Sheringham?" Like blah blah. Do you know what I mean? I'm a Man United fan as well, so it's nice. It's nice to be able to look back and say, "Oh, well, yeah, I had a couple of ex-managers who played for England or blah blah blah," because if they've got to that level, like in their playing careers, and that they've got a wealth of knowledge, and if they can pass any of it on to you, or you can play for them and gain any experience from people who have played at international level, then it can only be good for you, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was Forest Green Rovers for you after us. Just one question about them: did they make you eat vegan like they do with their players now?
No, but you either eat what they sell or you don't eat at all. I'll give you that. They don't. To be fair to them, what they're doing in that respect to the chairman, it's a good thing. He believes in what he believes in. It's not just for the food. He's very eco-friendly in everything he does. His cars, his food, obviously his work with what he does as well. Yeah, he sticks to it. He doesn't force anyone to eat it, but he sticks to his guns, and he's got his way of doing things. Fair play to him. He doesn't own a mobile phone, if I remember. He didn't own a mobile phone. You could contact him via email and stuff like that. So it weren't just for show, like the food thing, trying to like separate Forest Green. Like he's proper doing his bit. He's proper doing his bit. So yeah, fair play.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of going there, to be honest with you. I like a choice of a meat pie or a cheeseburger. I tried drinking a cup of tea and I had oat milk in there, and I didn't particularly like it very well. I was thinking, no, and I can't just eat chips, So
Oat milk.
Each their own, though, I suppose.
Yeah.
But so obviously you mentioned there that you played for Stevenage, and I was there when you scored against us. Obviously you didn't celebrate and put your hands up to us. Big respect for that. What is it like to have to play against a former club that you're still fond of?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It was hard for me. It's not hard to play. But I think it's different for me with Newport than it was with the other clubs, because obviously Newport is at the top of the list when I think of the clubs that I've played for. Newport's the top of the list, so it's a little bit different. It's like I don't know, Wayne Rooney going back to Man United or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's a bit different in terms of that, because you want to do well, because every time you go on the pitch, naturally you just want to do well. But at the same time, that if you do well, then they're not going to do well. And obviously, I always want Newport to do well. So you kind of put it to the back of your mind for a bit. You can't. In the moment when you're playing, it kind of all goes out the window. If I'm honest, I do know that you're playing against the next club, and you do know that there's probably more eyes on you than normal because of you used to play for them. But you just have to try and forget it. I remember just through the whole game. I remember because Jonah is one of my good mates, and I remember through the whole game we were just taking the piss out of each other, just like laughing and joking like we would usually do in training and stuff like that. And that had just helped me kind of forget about everything because he's like I said, we're really close, and
yeah,
that's something that we would do in training. And I can't remember how well I played in the game. Did I play the whole game? Did I play 90 minutes? I think I might have played.
you.
I played the whole game,
Oh,
so I
good,
think
but not that good.
yeah, like I think I played the whole game. So I think I did okay. I don't remember having like a worldy game or whatever, but I remember after the game, like just laughing and joking, having a text with Daz or whatever.
Mm.
So yeah, I did treat it as any game, but um, it is a bit. You do think about like your mates who are playing, and obviously like any people that you know that are associated with the club that you're close to. You do think about them while you're playing because you know that they're going to be watching you, and same for them. They want you to do well, but obviously they don't want you to do too well because they want their team to win. So yeah.
So you eventually did come back to Rodney Parade. It was obviously for our game of Leyton Orient this season. A very emotional day, obviously, dedicated to Justin. How was the occasion for you personally?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see some more faces I hadn't seen for ages. I hadn't seen the family since the funeral and stuff. So it was nice to see them. It was good to see some old players like Mince and stuff like that. I hadn't seen Mince, Kels, and Max. I'd seen Max actually because me and Max drove down to Leyton Orient's ground. I met Max. We drove down, so I'd seen Max a couple of times. But it was good to see everyone. It was good to be together. Everyone obviously see Pipey. Good to see Pipey as well. And then obviously the people the people who were just there, a few supporters and people working behind the bar or whatever, like just faces that I hadn't seen for so long.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see. It was nice to see loads of familiar faces. It was an emotional occasion, yeah. But it was a good day, and I think like seeing how strong his family were that day kind of just like it makes you have no choice but to just kind of be strong as well. Because when you see how strong like Charlie and Sydney and Kerry are, how strong they are, like and talking to people and standing up and speaking to people and stuff like that, and everything that they're doing with the foundation and just how they speak and how strong they are in front of cameras and in front of people. And they never look like, I know they're hurting, probably still are. They never look like they're going to break down. So when you see how strong they are, it kind of just made me. I was just like, wow. Like I had some bad days, like really bad days. But when I see Charlie, especially all of them, but when I see Charlie, especially when I hear him speak, like you just think to yourself, like if they can do it and they can all be that strong, like knowing what he was to them, then you've just got to do the same as well. So it was emotional for that day, but definitely gave me seeing them like that. Definitely gave me strength.
Definitely. I mean, obviously the whole situation with Justin was devastating. Of course, I personally liked him so much, not just as a manager for Newport County, but as a person, because on many occasions he took the time out to actually talk to me. I remember after we beat Grimsby in the second leg of the playoff semi-final, everyone was in Warehouse getting steaming, and I was there as well. We were stood at the urinal together, and he just took the piss out of the size of my dick, like, just casually, like, oh, cheers, Justin. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you Essex boys are supposed to have some sort of reputation. It's like, you're not exactly carrying that around with you either, are you, mate? I had a really good laugh with him. He did an interview like this with me as well. I mean, what a lovely guy. Yeah, so as you said, it was a really emotional day and a real fitting tribute to him as well.
Yeah,
Obviously
yeah. I
before the
think
game and during the game and everything.
yeah, he deserves everything he's getting out. It's not the love and everything that him and the family have been showing. It's not by chance. It like anytime you speak about him, people have only got good things to say. Whether it's people like you who say he took the time out to speak to me. Everyone always says that he always took the time to speak to him, and that was one thing that he was good for. He always even if it was just hello, he always asked how you are, the family are. Um, Always took time out to say hello to people, speak to people, have a laugh with people, involve people. And I think that's part of his strategy. That's part of when you take over a team that ain't got the best budget like in the league, like a Luton Town budget, or you don't walk into a team with 9 or 10 contracted players already, like who you want to play, like who players that you want to keep. You walk into a club and you inherit like 3 or 4 contract players, and you've got to rebuild from the ground right back up, and you've just missed out on relegation. It's things like bringing communities together, or like why he takes the time out to speak to everyone, and he gets the fans close to the players, and he takes the time to speak to everyone, and he brings in a certain type of player who's gonna do that as well. That's all part of building what he wants to do off the pitch, to enable everyone to do what they need to do on the pitch. And he did the same at Rushden, and he done the same at Gillingham, and he did the same at Leyton Orient. And it's no fluke, it's no coincidence. But that's how he wanted to be, and that's, like I said to you, that's the kind of manager that I needed to play for. So I was lucky that I was able to play for him 3 times, or for wherever it was, because that's the kind of manager that I wanted to play for.
Yeah, perfect fit for you then. Usual question in an interview like this: who was the best player you played with and the best player you played against?
The best player I played with was Lee Tomlin. He was at Rushden with me. He's a few years younger than me, about 4 or 5 years younger than me. He's at Cardiff City now. When he was at Rushden, he was 20 years old, I think. Peterborough signed him. And some of the things he used to do at Rushden was a joke, like literally ridiculous. He was the best player. He was 20 years old, and he was the best player in the conference by a mile. Mm-hmm. Everyone was trying to sign him, and in the end, I remember Barry Fry came. Peterborough was like coming and watching him all the time, but for some reason would never take him. He was a little fat shit. To be fair, his diet was shit. Oh, excuse me, his diet was horrendous, but ability, like quick. Still, he had like weird strength, and I remember by Fry, Peter came to watch him 3 or 4 times. For whatever reason, it just didn't happen. And then they came to watch him in a pre-season game. This is after we made the playoffs that year, and he had a good year. And a few teams come, and they used to look at him and just probably think, nah. He had a little belly on him and that. And then I think this was like, I remember Justin saying something like, "This is your last chance." And he came to watch in a pre-season game against West Brom. West Brom had loads of their first teams playing. We played, and we beat him 2-1, and he scored both, and he was unbelievable. No one could get near him. Their first choice right back was playing. I can't remember who it was at the time. He was megging him, taking the piss. He scored 2 goals. He scored 2 worldy goals as well. And then the next day, or the day after, I think they signed him. Barry Fry was like, "I've got to have him." And then, so he was the best player by far. Not by far. I did play with some good players, to be fair. Best player I played against. If I think trying to think about people who I always used to have tough games against.
What are you thinking now, and
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know like loads of attacking players. I remember at Luton we played against Fleetwood, and Jamie Vardy was a disgrace. Like he scored that day, and he's ridiculously quick. Like I've seen sharp people before, but he was like stupid sharp. So I'd say Vardy. I'm trying to think of a centre off, someone who you played around Conference League 2, or maybe always played against and thought always had a good game, or always didn't like playing against. Trying to think of a tough opponent, but I can't really think of anyone who stands out for me. So I'll go with definitely from an attacking point of view, another team, definitely Vardy.
Awesome then. So going on to my last question for you now. You've left Kettering now. That's correct, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you enjoyed a really good goal scoring record for them. Do you think there's another team to play for next?
Yeah, at the minute, I'm just I just turned the club down not yesterday, the day before. Well, I'd say turned them down. I was debating over an offer. But I've still got 4 or 5 clubs that I've spoke to that obviously not everybody knows their current situation financially right now. So I'm aware of which clubs are interested, but I've only had 2 offers on the table in terms of money. One of those clubs needed to know straight away because they basically had money aside for a striker, and it was either me or somebody else, and they gave me kind of like a 6 p.m. deadline on Wednesday, which is fair enough because they didn't want to lose out on the other target, and I couldn't give them an answer by then because I still had other clubs that I needed to speak to. So they signed another striker, so I know that that's not on the table. But at the minute, I've got an offer on the table. It's in the same league. And I've got 4 or 5 teams that I've spoke to that within the next probably week or two, I'll probably, like have kind of financial offers, and it will give me kind of something to look at and see. You have to take everything into consideration, obviously money and traveling and blah 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 blah. So, not really phased at the minute. Yeah, it's nice to get it all done as soon as early as possible, so you know where you're at. But obviously, with what's going on at the minute, clubs are in a difficult situation, so you can't. Yeah, so you just kind of have to respect that a little bit. So, yeah, while I still feel good. I still feel all right. Like I say, I've been getting my exercise in, and yeah, while I still enjoy, I'm gonna play it while I still enjoy it. I think when I stop enjoying it, like I'm not bothered about the money. I've been, well, that's a lie, but I would say I'm not bothered about the money. Obviously, it helps, but I would never play for the money if I wasn't enjoying it. So when I stop enjoying it, it's not like I'm making millions. So it's not life-changing money. So if I'm not enjoying it, then I know what I'm like anyway. I'll step aside. I won't want to be one of them players that kind of overstays his welcome in the game and ends up being a player that people remember me by, like what I finish. I want to be remembered for still being able to play while I can still do what I want to do, and I've still got pace, and I still feel good and fit and stuff. Like I'll play and I still enjoy it. I'll play, but as soon as any of that changes, I've got no problems hanging up my boots, to be honest.
Could coaching be on the cards for you then?
Say that again, mate.
Could coaching be on the cards for you then?
Not for me. I don't think coaching is not for me. I would never say no at maybe management one day at whatever level, I don't know. Even maybe like helping out players, getting into like some kind of agency kind of work, which a number of people have asked me to do. Even one of my old agents asked me to do that on behalf of his company. One of my friends who set up his own company has asked me to do that. I've had players who have asked me if I would just be their agent. But obviously, while I'm still playing, I can't. You can't get an agency license, so that's something that maybe I would look at, because I'd like to help players out, and I think it's good to have someone there looking out for you, especially in football nowadays. Everyone wants to be a footballer. It's hard to be a footballer. You're in competition with thousands of other people every year, so it's nice to have some kind of help. But yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Agent Azza, viewed it here first.
Yeah, maybe. I remember my mate who started up his own agency. He had a player. I can't remember the guy's name now. You would know him. He played like Tom. Is it Tom something? He plays attacking midfield or centre midfield. I think he came on trial at the start of last season. Don't know if you'll know him. It was based in my mate's company because I've got this player plays in Wales. I can't remember who he played for either. It's bad of me, that. And he goes, "Oh, do you know any blah blah blah?" And I said, "Oh, look, I'll ring Flinny and I'll see if I can get him down." And I remember, I swear his name was Tom something.
Tom Owen Evans, is it? Tom Owen Evans.
Not so. This was literally last season. So he came down last summer, or last pre-season. He played a couple of games. And I said, so I rang Flinny and I said, "Oh, look, Flinny, like my mates, I've got this guy, and I've seen a couple of clips of him. And to be fair to Flinny was good. Flinny took him and said, "Yeah, bring him down. I'll have a look for him." So it's nice when you know people like that. And there's a couple of other people I used to play with who were like involved in management, either assistants or managers, not at good levels. And they kind of take your word for it and stuff. So they believe you. If you say to them, "Look, I've got a guy I think might be okay for you," they'll trust you because obviously you've got that friendship and relationship. So it's not a bad idea. It's not something that blows my mind and I think, "Oh, I want to be an agent," but I definitely wouldn't mind helping other people out. Like other young lads coming through, and it was probably something I would even do for free. But yeah, whichever way you go about it, I don't know. But that appeals to me a lot more than the coaching side of things. To be honest, I don't see myself being a coach at all.
Fairly. Well, that's all I got for you then, mate. So no, I really appreciate your time. I'm sure the fans who watch this are going to really enjoy, getting an insight to obviously your time at Newport and your career around it. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks very much, mate.
No worries, mate. Anytime.
Top man. All right, we'll take care, stay safe, and yeah, we'll look out to see who you sign for.
Yeah, no worries. I'll catch up with you soon. I'll be down in Wales when all this is over anyway.
Good man. Hoping to catch up with you in person then if that's the case.
Yeah. All right, mate. Look after yourself.
Cheers, as you too, mate.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye. Many thanks for watching the latest content on the Amber Army channel. Please make sure you leave us a like. Make sure you subscribe for more content, both for the neutral football fan and also plenty of Newport County. Even more Newport County content can be found on the club's iFollow channel on the link above. It is just £4.49 per month to subscribe to that service. And those of you feeling extra generous can also support us on Patreon on the link at the bottom there. That would be a monthly donation of your choice. Thank you again. Make sure you've subscribed, and as always, up the county.